It is 11 o'clock. Welcome back in. This is Reaction Monday on Jocks. Pat, Conrad, Molly. Landry will be back with us next week. We're off the rest of this week after today, so hope everybody has a wonderful Christmas. And we'll be back, and we'll start our preview of the Indiana Hoosiers taking on the Alabama Crimson Tide, as the Tide took care of business 34-24 against the Oklahoma Sooners on Friday night. Ty Simpson, 232 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 turnovers. That was the most important thing. Still has problems when he's being pressured. He was 1 of 8 when Oklahoma brought pressure for only 12 yards. When he's not pressured, he's 17 of 21 for 220 yards and 2 touchdowns. So a little bit of difference when that offensive line is able to give him a second or two more to kind of go through his progression. So Simpson has had 5 passing plays of 20-plus yards against Oklahoma. He's up to 54 passing plays of 20 or more yards this season. That leads the Southeastern Conference and is tied for the 4th most amongst FBS quarterbacks. So once again, you give him time, and you're able to see what he's able to do dissecting the defenses.
Yeah, and he's struggled on some of the deep, down the field passing at times this year, and we've talked about that. But he goes 4 of 4 on passes over 20 yards on Friday. I think that has to make you feel good. Granted, one of them, a fantastic catch by Jeremy Bernard, doing his best Randy Moss, Tyrone Prothro impersonation there. But we talked about the throw that he had to Horton. There were some really good throws mixed in there. And the drops were, again, a problem for Alabama. So it could have been even better from a stat line perspective. But once you saw in the second half, like you mentioned, he had a little bit of time. He really started to kind of get in that groove. And it felt like a lot of it was he started to have the confidence that guys were going to do their job and block and give him time. And once he got comfortable, he was letting it rip. So hopefully that continues in, 9 days against Indiana.
You think about Zabian Brown, who's a California kid who came to Alabama. He made his presence known early in the Kalen DeBoer era, in which he was able to knock down a pass in the Georgia win at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Then he had the pick 6 against Tennessee, and now a pick 6 against Oklahoma. So Zabian Brown, the sophomore, is making quite the name for himself. Matter of fact, the pick 6, he becomes just the 12th player in Alabama history with 2 pick 6s in the same year. And it's the first time since Jordan Battle back in 2021.
Oh, he was so good.
When he had a couple of pick 6s.
Yeah, and he's now tied, which, I mean, I guess it's not surprising, but the 2 pick 6s is the most any player has in college football this year. So that's very impressive by him. And they've come at, I mean, you think about that Tennessee game, how big of a shift that was right before halftime. And they ultimately go on to win that one by double digits. And then I think a lot of people would point to Friday night. That was the big turning point where Oklahoma really started to wither away after that.
Alabama is losing another coach on the staff, as Nick Sheridan, who was last year's offensive coordinator. This year, he went back to the role as a quarterback coach and also working with some tight ends. He is heading to East Lansing, Michigan. The former Michigan quarterback is now going to be the offensive coordinator for Michigan State.
And look, that's a great opportunity for him. I'm glad he's going to go and get another chance to be an offensive coordinator, because we talked about it last year, right? He was thrown into a tough position with Ryan Grubb, I guess, coming to Alabama for like 3 days and then going to the Seattle Seahawks. And that was a tough situation for your first year as a full-time offensive coordinator. And I think now, though, moving forward, if you're an Alabama fan, and I think that whole offensive staff's done a really good job this year, but, next year or in the future, it looks like Keelan Russell is that guy for the future. Nick Sheridan played a huge role in recruiting him and getting him to Tuscaloosa. So even though he may be gone, you may get to enjoy some of the fruits of his labor for the next couple of years with Keelan Russell and all of his potential.
And with Sheridan gone and Derek Nix from Auburn being hired on the Alabama staff. So seems like that would be a good place for Derek Nix, who was the offensive coordinator. I use air quotes there for Auburn this year, because we all know who the offensive coordinator was.
That's correct. And we had heard that Nix was going to be the wide receivers coach and fill that void for Jamarcus Shepard. But, yeah, you do wonder if maybe there's a little bit more of an expanded role with Nick Sheridan on the way out. But, hey, he did a great job his 2 years at Alabama, helped build the foundation for the next couple of years, and best of luck to him under Pat Fitzgerald there at Michigan State.
So the Alabama line against Indiana, it's fluctuating between 6.5 and 7, as the Hoosiers are the favorite in this game. Since 2009, this would be the 11th time in 16 years that Alabama has been an underdog. In the previous 10, Bama is 7-3 as an underdog, straight up.
It's pretty good.
It's very good. And Matter of fact, if you go back to some of these point spreads throughout time, it's been pretty amazing. Alabama being able to perform as an underdog. So we'll see if that line will fluctuate, because the Oklahoma game the other night, I think it literally went off as a 2.5 point favorite for Oklahoma.
Okay, so it grew even a little bit more after
sure
we
did.
went off the air on Friday. Yeah, it's gonna be a great matchup. We got a lot of time to talk about it next week, but I thought Nick brought up a great point. You just go and look at what Indiana's done, and they beat Ohio State in a great game there in the Big Ten championship. But I think a lot of people remember last year. Remember, every team that got a first round bye last year lost their first game. Maybe that a little too much rest for them almost. And you also can feel pretty good because you go back and look, and I mean, outside of the Ohio State game and the Big Ten championship, the toughest game that Indiana has played in the last 2 months was Penn State, a team which they only beat by 3 points. And I think that right there, a lot of people went, okay, Penn State's having a rough year, but from a talent standpoint, maybe closer to Indiana than some of these other teams. And that gives you a little confidence, I think, if you're Alabama, because you're definitely more battle tested than they are, but Indiana is number one for a reason.
So you had that game Friday night with Alabama coming from behind and knocking off Oklahoma. The very next morning, you had Miami and Texas A&M. It was the first scoreless opening half in college football playoff history, scoreless at College Station. The first three quarters, Miami only had 85 yards rushing, but they had 90 in the fourth quarter. They averaged 13 yards per carry in that final stanza for the Hurricanes. The Aggie offense averaged more than 36 points this season, and they failed to get a touchdown against Miami at home. You know, A&M historians, they said that this was the worst loss in program history since 1975. That was when A&M was 10-0, undefeated, number 2 in America, and Arkansas beat them and knocked the Aggies out of a potential playing for a national championship. So it's been a minute since they were put in that position, and Miami, give all the credit in the world for the Hurricanes, what they were able to do on the road in a very hostile environment and really find a running game to take care of business.
I was about to say, Mark Fletcher was the reason that Miami won that game, and I mean, he was just incredible. 172 yards on 17 carries, averaged over 10 yards per rush. And that was really the story of the game, right? Because Carson Beck, he throws for 103 yards, but he doesn't turn the ball over, which had plagued Miami in their losses this year. So he played safe, protected the football, and let the running game kind of do their business. And I think everyone watching that game, when Texas A&M gets that fumble late on Tony, and you see him on the sideline, tore up, looks like he's crying on the sideline, just can't believe that he, in his mind, he's like, I probably just lost this game for Miami. I think we all knew, hey, if Miami gets a chance to go down and win or tie this thing, Tony's going to get the ball and he's going to make something happen. And he did that by scoring the game-winning touchdown. But, yeah, I mean, this one, if it stings for Oklahoma and their loss, it stings even more if you're Texas A&M. I mean, you won 11 games. You were ahead of schedule in Mike Elko's second year, and you can hang your hat on a lot of those things. But you just look, and it's, again, as far as 11-win seasons go, this is a pretty empty one. You didn't beat your rival. You didn't make a conference championship game. You didn't win a conference title. You make the playoff, you get a home game, and you lose, and you can only score 3 points. So, again, I think a lot of A&M fans are happy that they made it to the playoff and probably weren't expecting that at the beginning of the year, but they are who I guess we thought they were, right? They didn't play a tough schedule. They beat Notre Dame earlier in the year. That was impressive, but when you played two good teams at the end in Texas and Miami, you come up short in both of them.
Yeah, you mentioned they posted 11 victories for the first time in over a decade. Their win against Notre Dame, it was A&M's first non-conference road victory over a ranked opponent since 1979. Wow. They defeated LSU in Baton Rouge for the first time in more than 30 years. So they do have a couple of things that they can hang their hat on. But like you mentioned, you lose to your big rival when when it mattered the most.
Could have gotten a first-round bye in the playoff, been in the SEC championship
championship game, absolutely. And so you lose there, and then you get a home game, and then you stink it up and lose to Miami. Also, fact that needs to be reminded is that Texas A&M is now 0-1 when Jimbo Fisher is on the sideline as their former coach.
Great point.
He did pregame.
I did. I saw him.
SEC Network.
Yeah, I saw some pictures with him down there.
The Grove was hopping on Saturday. Ole Miss did not take long. Their first play from scrimmage, 30-yard completion. Their second play was a 25-yard completion. Their third play was a 20-yard rushing touchdown by Lacey.
Pretty good.
Yeah. They jumped out to a 14-0 lead. Ole Miss had almost 500 yards of total offense. It was getting a little questionable there towards the back end because you had a couple of guys, Chambliss and Lacey, both were dinged up, but Pete Golden said after the game that both guys were okay. Now Pete Golden has more wins in the CFP than Lane Kiffin has.
Yes, he does. And I let me find that because I put this tweet out on Saturday morning, and I thought it was pretty funny. And you could add more names to this list, but Pete Golding now has more playoff wins than these coaches do combined. Lane Kiffin, Kurt Signetti, Dan Lanning, Brian Kelly, and Lincoln Riley. All names that we think of when you think of
That's beautiful.
I guess the best coaches in the game right now. A lot of those guys would be on that list.
Now Lanning got his first one.
Well, Dan Lanning did get his
Saturday
first
afternoon.
One. Correct.
Saturday night.
Correct.
So, a crowd of 68,000 there at Vaught Hemingway Stadium. They also not only they say it was the biggest sporting event in the history of the state of Mississippi. They also set a Guinness World Record.
Really?
Yes.
For what?
The largest gathering of people wearing Santa hats. They gave out Santa hats before the game.
Did you see the one Santa tailgate that had the message for Lane Kiffin on it?
I did not.
What does Santa say commonly?
Ho, ho, ho.
You can kind of piece the puzzle together from there.
Gotcha. The previous mark of a crowd wearing Santa hats was by the Anaheim Angels, 30,333.
Okay.
So they kind of easily doubled that number. And on top of that, speaking of Lane, congratulations, because he got a $250,000 bonus because Ole Miss won.
That was very good to see.
Yes,
I'm very happy.
He needs the money.
And so remind us quickly, because we had talked about this a couple weeks ago, the economic impact wasn't it like $50 million?
50 to 60
for
million
Oxford?
dollars. Yes.
Good for them.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. So Ole Miss advances, and we just mentioned Dan Lanning. That just what a weird game. And man, if you had James Madison and the points, good for you. If you didn't, Molly, you had a rough weekend.
I know. I did have a bad weekend.
You went 0-5.
I got Ole Miss in Tulane.
Mm-mm.
Oh, never mind.
Nope. You had the over.
Oh, I thought I had Ole Miss in the points. Maybe not.
Mm-mm. According to I got
we can go check the tape.
Conrad and Landrum.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think I'm wrong.
So you
Dang, I went into that whole game thinking I got one right, and I didn't get any right.
no.
The
You went 0-5.
turntables.
Yeah, that sucks.
Hey, it's all right. We still got more better to forget it to go.
Yeah.
So Landrum is now in front by one game over you.
Mm-hmm.
You went 3-2.
I had a nice weekend. Thanks, James Madison. Could have gone 4-1.
Landrum went 2-3. Molly went 0-5. So Molly, now you've got a little work to do to get back in it.
It's probably not going to happen.
Molly, remember where I was 3 weeks ago and where I am now.
Yeah.
Anything can happen.
The last couple of weeks have been bad for me, though.
It's
I don't know
all right.
how I've been behind Landrum.
You're just ready for the quarterfinals. You're good.
Yeah.
Plenty of
I
opportunities.
was about to say, you got a couple days off, really do your research and be firing on all cylinders.
This is why I don't gamble, people.
Yes.
Well, there was a lot of people that was very anxious towards the back end of that game because I think the majority of America took the Ducks and the points.
When you had a fourth down at the end of the game, just get one stop
Ugh.
and you win by what, 24?
Mm-hmm.
Golly.
The Dukes, not the Ducks, the Dukes outscored Oregon 27-17 in the second half. And they had 194 yards in the fourth quarter against the Ducks defense.
They put out some good tape for some guys that maybe want opportunities elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yep. James Madison's 509 yards of offense was the most this season yielded by Oregon.
Texas Tech like to see that.
Yep.
A little vulnerable there, maybe.
Of course, now a group of 5 teams are 0-4 in the college football playoff.
And for the first, and I guess maybe it's just that we've had a couple of years of this now. It was just interesting how everybody seemed to jump on that same conversation that we had a couple of weeks ago, which is now everyone saying, these group of 5 teams, we got to find a way to get them out of the playoff or give them their own playoff. It was just interesting that this seemed to be the straw that broke the camel's back for a lot of college football fans of, I don't want to watch this stuff because, I mean, I was talking about it this morning. Were you locked into the Oregon JMU game? Because I wasn't. I had it on and I was watching it, but if something else I had to go and do, I was going to go do that because you knew what was going to happen after the first 15 minutes of the game. And I think we all agree we want to see more competitive matchups than that. But thanks, ACC, I guess. Part of the problem this year. But
Yeah.
Things will change, I'm sure.
You know, when it comes to protecting your home or business, you need a roofing team that is truly abides by quality, and that's Abide Roofing. Abide Roofing offers tailored roofing solutions for every need, your family home, your commercial building, whatever you got. They deliver custom work that fits your style and your situation. In the Abide crew, they bring their A game every single day, highly skilled pros working with precision, pride, and commitment to getting the job done right the very first time. And it's always safety first at Abide, using the latest tools, following the highest standards, keeping your property and their team protected from start to finish. And their work is built to last. That's why I used Abide a couple years ago when I needed a full roof replacement, because I knew the job was going to be done right. There's no shortcuts, there's no compromises, only the best materials, giving you durability, weather resistance, and long-term value. Get started today. Call them 205-577-7338. That's 205-577-7338. Or just simply go to their website, abideroof.com. More three-man front on this Reaction Money as we roll along. In about 15 minutes, we'll hear from Trey Wallace. Next hour, Kalen DeBoer during his Rose Bowl official press conference. That's all straight ahead. It is 11:20. Thanks for tuning us in on this Reaction Monday. We'll get to more of your phone calls coming up at 1-800-239-WJOX. You know, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, not only did they not want to play in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, they chickened out of that one just because they got their feelings hurt because they didn't make the college football playoff. Well, now it's being reported that they have officially bowed out of their series against USC. So no more of the USC Trojans and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And guess who Notre Dame is now going to play for the next 2 years? The team that they would not play in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. They're playing BYU the next 2 years.
Okay,
So the Mormons and the Catholics will get together.
I'll at least give them credit for scheduling BYU and not
It's a Power 4 opponent.
a directional state school.
Yeah.
I'll give them credit for that.
Or a MAC school.
Or a MAC school.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've seen them lose to MAC schools.
So Notre Dame and USC, they failed to reach an agreement to extend their historic season. In fact, the Irish are now putting the finishing touches on a 2-year deal with BYU. And the first game is going to be played in Provo in October.
Okay. Sign me up for that. I'm good with that.
And the rub between USC and Notre Dame had to do with the fact that Notre Dame wanted to continue to play the game late in the year, and USC was not for that.
No.
USC wanted to play it at the beginning of the year because, one, on the odd years in which they had to travel to South Bend, they're probably playing in inclement weather.
Well, and you also, if you're going to lose a game like that against Notre Dame, you probably want to lose it earlier in the year and have time to make up for it.
Right.
In terms of making a playoff push.
Yeah.
A little snow never hurt nobody.
Well,
no.
It's just going to be interesting to see who's the head coach of Notre Dame at that game next year.
Some breaking news out of the state of North Carolina this morning. I'll be the first to admit that I did not see this coming, but the University of North Carolina, they have a new offensive coordinator. It's a very familiar name in the Southeastern Conference by the name of Bobby Petrino. Yes, folks, you heard me right. Bobby Petrino, the interim head coach of Arkansas, the former head football coach at Arkansas, who was fired after having an affair and then had a motorcycle accident on that Harley Davidson.
Then wore a backwards neck brace.
Yes, to a press conference. He was hired today by Bill Belichick.
Who would have thought that Bill Belichick would give the college football media a Christmas miracle of all the people? This is hilarious.
I hope Bill Belichick's girlfriend rides in on a Harley Davidson
That would be
and starts the rumor mill.
Yes. This is, I'll be honest, I'm fascinated to see how it plays out because I think we all agree, right? Bobby Petrino is a very good offensive mind. That's just a match made in heaven, isn't it?
All right, so Belichick's what, 73?
72, 73. And Bobby is what?
64.
60. Oh, okay. Okay.
So see, Jordan would be upgrading.
So is he just doing the same thing he did at Arkansas and hoping that he'll be the head coach in waiting when Bill Belichick retires in a year or two?
I guess.
That's okay. I mean, again, for a second year in a row, you've got my attention, North Carolina. I'm going to be fascinated to watch. It's probably going to end up in a disaster, but I can't wait to watch.
So I had some people texting, wanted to know if there's any updates on the transfer portal for Auburn. And I can tell you this, if you saw it yesterday on social media, quarterback Ashton Daniels, he's announced that he is going to enter the transfer portal when it opens next month. Remember, he started 3 games for the Tigers, and they even set him out a game in the hopes that he would have one more year of eligibility, which he will. He'll just won't do it at Auburn. In a statement on Instagram, Daniels says he wanted to return, and it's a direct quote, "Things didn't work out how I thought they would," end of quote. So you got Jackson Arnold, who intends to enter the transfer portal, leaving only redshirt freshman Deuce Knight, a former top 50 recruit, as the only member of the Auburn quarterback room.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I know a lot of people I guess there's been a belief since Alex Golish came there that Byron Brown would just waltz in there and take the job as starting QB or at least compete with Deuce Knight for that job. But, okay. I mean, look, if you're Auburn, I know maybe you don't like the fact that you've had so many people enter the portal so far, but I thought Deuce Knight looked really, really good against Mercer. I think you have a lot to work with there and a whole offseason to develop. And we know Alex Golish. I mean, you look at Byron Brown, like you kind of look at Deuce Knight and go, oh, he just looks like a bigger, maybe more athletic version of Byron Brown, right? He's got a little bit more of the frame, a bigger arm, but all the same mobility. And I think you could see Alex Golish having a lot of success with him if he sticks around.
I highly recommend for those that are interested, if you are a subscriber to Auburn Undercover, Nathan King wrote an outstanding article last night in which he details what's going on with the Auburn transfer portal situation and the budget that they have. And I know that it was reported a couple weeks ago that Auburn was looking around $30 million. Nathan King, he kind of lays out more of a $20 to $25 million range in that, which is still a tremendous amount of money.
Oh, yeah.
Nathan also lays out that a lot of these deals for the Auburn roster from this previous season was all front-loaded contracts, which...
Because they were in win-now mode this year.
Correct. So they kind of overpaid for some dudes that may not have delivered what they were hoping for, but that was the deals that Nathan was laying out in his article. Also, it's interesting to note that for all those people that thought it was so important to keep DJ Durkin as your defensive coordinator so you could retain the defensive roster.
Yeah, it's been rough.
That just has not happened.
No.
Auburn is now down to another starter in the secondary with Kayan Lee expected to transfer. You already had Jay Crawford announce last week that he was leaving. So for all those people that said that you got to keep DJ Durkin, and you probably ran John Sumrall off as the head coach because Sumrall wanted to have his own defensive coordinator, but we kept hearing that it was, something that obviously John Cohen and the Auburn people really wanted DJ Durkin to be a part of that next staff. And John Sumrall decided, you know what, I'll take the Florida job and I'll hire the people that I want to hire. But Auburn's in trouble now on the defensive side because you got a lot of these guys that you were counting on sticking around, at least for right now. This could be a negotiating ploy. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, and again, these guys can still renegotiate and come back to Auburn if they want to, or if Auburn is, allows them to, I guess maybe would be a better way to phrase it. But no, and look, to be honest, there's been a lot of guys for Auburn whose names have gone in the portal, and a lot of those are guys that you look at and go, oh, okay, like it wasn't somebody that was a contributor or somebody where the loss was going to be immediately felt. Now, a couple of these guys, Jay Crawford, Kayan Lee, that's a little bit of a different situation there, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they navigate this because, I know the secondary wasn't great at times for Auburn this year, but, those were your two starting cornerbacks that you're now down. And even just from a depth standpoint, that's going to make things more difficult and losing some guys on the defensive line. So they've got their work cut out for them, but the portal will open in early January, and we'll see what kind of work they do.
Let's go to the phones. Don joins us on this Reaction Monday. Hey, Don, happy holidays.
Hey, guys. Happy Merry Christmas to you guys. I know you're not going to be there the rest of the week. I definitely wanted to call in first to wish you guys a Merry Christmas to you and your families.
Appreciate that very much.
Thank you, Don.
Okay, but I do have some the news to follow up on what you just said. It was just announced that Byron Brown is transferring.
That he's entering the portal, or has he picked a destination?
Well, nobody's entered officially yet. Just intended to leave and everything, which is a big point. And some of these guys could come back, but Pat, and you're right. Nathan King had a beautiful article. I read it yesterday myself. And the fact is, we just overpaid these people the last 2 years. That's the thing. We're not gonna pay them what we were paying them because they didn't do anything on the field.
That's right, and that's the way it is now. And that's why if all these deals were front loaded, and these guys are expecting Auburn to come back and pay them the same amount of money, I think Auburn's doing the right thing and letting them go.
I agree.
Okay, and also too, going back to South Florida, there's going to be two defensive backs that are leaving, and a really, really, really good defensive lineman. I believe this last name is Mitchell. So we're gonna. I don't think we're gonna do like Signetti did and bring the whole James Madison team to Indiana, but I expect to get about six to maybe 10. What do you guys think?
Well, one thing's for sure. I think fandoms, and that includes Alabama fans in a couple of weeks or whenever they're eliminated in the college football playoff, and then guys are going to go in the portal. It is such a crapshoot. For those that say that Auburn's not going to be any good because all these guys are leaving. I mean, that's an inaccurate statement. Just like if teams got guys coming back for another year of a deal, doesn't mean that they're going to be able to replicate what they did this previous year. I mean,
South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, it really is just a crapshoot now every year, and we talk about it all the time, Don, but it's the NFL light now. I mean, that's exactly what it is.
It is, and January the 2nd through January 16th is going to be like a free agency season. Okay.
Mm-hmm. It sure is. Don, I hope you and your family have a wonderful holiday. Thanks for the call.
Well, hey, thank you guys, and that was one of the main reasons I wanted to call today. You guys we've had a great year together, and we'll be back at Social Taco in a couple of weeks. Everybody.
Sounds good. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Don.
Merry Christmas, Don.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Coming up next, Trey Wallace from Outkick. We'll get his feelings on the CFP. All that straight ahead on Jocks. We'll talk to Trey Wallace from Outkick coming up in just a minute. I want to remind everybody about APS, Alabama Professional Services. It's already been another great banner year for the folks at APS. You need to call them at 205-951-9717, whether it's concrete repair, concrete leveling, basement waterproofing, or foundation repair. They can take care of all that for you. As a matter of fact, the professional waterproofers there at APS, they can easily identify the cause of your wet basement, musty odors, or mold problems, and they can provide you with a high-quality waterproofing solution that can eliminate all your problems. They offer free estimates in Birmingham and many surrounding areas. Just go to their website, alabamaprofessional.com. They offer so many services if you're a homeowner, or give them a call at 205-951-9717. Let's go to the Higginbotham Hotline. Joining us now from Outkick, Trey Wallace joins us here on Three Man Front. Trey, happy holidays. Hope you're well.
Yeah, doing good, guys. Just pushing through. A little bit of an interesting weekend in Oxford, and now we get a little bit of a reprieve before we get to the quarterfinal matchups. And trust me, there'll be a lot of stuff going on in between
All right, so be honest with us. So you're very honest with our listeners and with us. Bama falls behind 17-0.
Yeah.
What kind of article are you getting ready to write for Outkick, and then how that changed really quickly by halftime?
Same old Alabama can't establish a running game, and it catches up to them. Like honestly, that would have been it. Like I went into that game thinking I was about to say Ole Miss. Man, I was there in Oxford too much and have been. If Oklahoma was able to establish along the defensive line and put the pressure, that it would cause some problems, and things just kind of got out of control there for the first 14, 15 minutes. And Alabama weathered the storm. Like, I give them a lot of credit, but the problem is they're one-dimensional right now. And if they're going to beat Indiana, they got to figure out a way to run the football. And I think, I'll be honest with you, the turning point in that game, like just straight up, was when John Mateer scrambled out of the backfield, got away from a sack, probably could have ran for 10, 15 yards, which I'm not blaming the young man for this. He found a receiver down the field and, probably should have caught it. And if that's the case, he probably goes into the end zone. It's 24-7, and we might not be talking about Alabama playing Indiana in the Rose Bowl. Actually, we're probably not talking about it. So, because then the fake, not the fake punt, but the messed up punt happens. Alabama's able to hold them the next best into a field goal. Like, things just started turning their way. I'm not that, believer in like karma and whatnot during games, but I will tell you that once that play happened and everything started to shift a little bit, there was no way in heck that Oklahoma was stopping that landslide. So I give a lot of credit to Alabama for fighting back, continuing to fight back, and making that into something that it was.
So, Trey, would you say that, I guess, based on the performance on Friday, are you more confident in Alabama moving forward? I mean, the Indiana game is going to be incredibly difficult nonetheless, but I mean, we know this is a team, you picked them to play in the national championship at the beginning of the year, not saying that you automatically expect that to be the case once again, but do you feel better about their chances?
It's like a great Trey. I'm so glad that you were able to overcome the Clemson-Alabama prediction.
I was about to say, I wasn't going to mention who you had them playing, but Pat just did.
That's okay. We're good. No, I think that, look, Indiana is going – if I'm an Indiana fan and I'm watching that game last Friday night, I'm like, oh, boy, this is going to be fun. Like, we're going to be able to score some points. We're going to be able to move the football. What is the Alabama defense going to be able to do? Stop the downfield threat from Indiana. How can they get after Fernando Mendoza? I think, obviously Mendoza is a different quarterback than John Mateer. But it also does – line up for Alabama in a way here. Like, I'm fascinated to see how Indiana secondary can try to control what Ty Simpson's doing down the field. And Alabama found success against Oklahoma's defense and hitting those 20, 30-yarders across the middle, finding a little space down the field. It's like every now and then we see the Ryan Williams that we all thought we were going to see. And he kind of comes out of his shell for 2 to 3 plays and goes back in it, which is fine. Like, every player has that type of year or a stretch and whatnot. But what I'm getting at here is I know everybody, a lot of folks that want to look at this game and say, and even I do, I'll be honest with you, Indiana should win this game by 10 to 14 points. That's just how I feel watching them all season long. I'm not a viewer that tunes in for 1 or 2 games and like that's it. Like, Indiana finds ways to win, but at the same time, it's like Ty Simpson said after the game. He tried to get the Kobe quote down, didn't work out, but that's okay. But I knew what he was saying. And when he talks about, everybody wrote them off, like, that's a mentality that we have not seen in Tuscaloosa in over nearly 2 decades.
Yeah.
And maybe this is good for this Alabama team. Like, maybe it's great that I'm sitting here saying that I don't know what they're going to do to be able to stop Indiana's offense. And maybe they turn that thing right back around and make me eat my words next week. I'm just, I'm fascinated because this is a different mindset right now, even coming off the SEC title game where Alabama didn't have a number of players there because of injuries, or they were limited on the field. And I feel like this could be, I'm trying not to get ahead of myself here, but man, this could turn into a run. Like there are so many things that could happen off Alabama going on that 34-7 run. And I'm not sitting here trying to, pump juice up to the fans by saying, I think Alabama's going to win a national championship, even though I predicted that, or they at least be playing a national championship before the season. But what I am saying is I like this new mindset from guys like Ty Simpson. I do. I don't know what it is about it that kind of gets me going here and liking them. But if they take the next 12 days and it's us against the world, I brought this up to a colleague. Like, if we looked at this game 2 years ago, guys, we would say this is David versus Goliath. And this is a brand versus a brand. Like, we see who comes out. Like, who's David and who's Goliath in this game? Because I think that would be Indiana. Like, I like the fact that it's kind of switched here in this spot. And I think that would serve Alabama really well. And I think the motivation is going to be there. And this is a team that it's out to prove some folks wrong. Now, at the end of the day, man, they've got to figure out a way to run the football. And if they can't, Indiana is going to control the possession, or you know what, they might just try to score in 3 to 4 plays and try to separate themselves. But if I'm an Alabama fan, I know how bad it went in the first half and whatnot, or the first 12 minutes of regulation. But you saw a squad that did not give up, did not falter, went in at halftime, adjusted, came out, and continued this crazy run they were on. And if I'm a fan, I'm like, all right, cool. Let's lace them up. Let's see what they can do out at the Rose Bowl. And I'm telling you, anything can happen. And I do think that there's an opportunity to beat Alabama. To beat Indiana.
Don't you think that's a really good, the attitude that you just talked about with this Alabama football team, that plays into the strength of Kalen DeBoer? I know that we're just now really getting to understand Kalen DeBoer as the coach on this side of the Mississippi River, but there is no question. I mean, his numbers don't lie in regards to how he motivates his teams, and they get up for these big games against these ranked opponents.
The whole Kalen DeBoer thing has been fascinating because I'll even bring it up. The stuff with Michigan last week. It didn't come out of just thin air. This was not hope from Michigan fans that they'd be able to go out and land somebody like that. And I promise you I'm going to land this plane. What I'm getting at here is there are multiple players in that locker room. Everybody's got social media. They see what's going on. They see Desmond Howard out here making hints as to why he picked Oklahoma to win the game, because maybe potentially Kalen DeBoer could get a formal offer from Michigan. What I'm getting at here is this team is kind of taken on the persona of Kalen DeBoer, and I understand it. A lot of people don't know Kalen. If you haven't covered him, if you didn't cover him at Washington or his previous stops, you're all still learning. And I think, and when I say that, I'm talking about the fans here. Like, he is a different animal behind the scenes. And the one thing that stands out to me, the one video that stands out to me, is when they were playing Tennessee, and he was walking out of that tunnel, and he looked like he had just drank 3 Red Bulls before he was about to take the field. He was jacked up. He was slapping the goalposts. Like, they feed off of him. And I think that while he is very subtle in some remarks, post-game, pre-game, and whatnot, he's a wild man in the locker room. But he also is so calm, cool, and collective. And I think what you've seen Alabama is they've taken on the life and the persona of their head coach. And that takes a while to instill, guys. Like, again, I go back to what Ty Simpson was saying. Like, when's the last time that you've heard Alabama players have to talk like that? It hasn't been the case. So maybe this is really, really good for the program, and this is what you want. It's still Alabama. It's going to be Alabama. I don't care who the head coach is, who the quarterback is, who the donors are. It's still Bama. I just think that they've had to find a different way and a different style about them after Nick Saban. And I think we're finally starting to see that. It took a while. It's taken a while. I get that part of it. You come off a loss in the SEC championship game that you didn't expect to get beat that bad. You're still trying to figure a few things out. But, man, there's something about this squad that I like them even more right now when it feels like it's them against the world. And I swear I didn't think I'd ever be saying that about the Alabama Crimson Tide football program, but here we are, guys.
Trey Wallace from Outkick and Fox joining us here on the Higginbotham Hotline on Three-Man Front. I want to switch gears a little bit with you, Trey, because you were in Oxford over the weekend as Ole Miss. Just I'll be honest, they slaughtered Tulane again like they did in the regular season. But I just kind of your takeaways from being around that team, being in that environment, Pete Golding's first game as head coach, just how impressed were you? Because from my perspective, just watching that team, it didn't look like there was really any drop-off with Lane Kiffin's departure. Just what can you tell us about your time in Oxford this weekend as Ole Miss advances to the quarterfinals?
It's funny. Like I covered the game because I wanted to cover what was going on around the game, not the game itself. And I made my walk around the Grove and whatnot and looked at the signs, even found Buddy the Elf running around, and I wanted to see what the atmosphere was like. And I could probably count on one hand maybe how many hateful signs toward Kiffin was. Like there was a Santa Claus sitting there taking pictures, and off to the right it was like ho ho ho, Merry Christmas. But you guys know what I'm talking about when I say that type of thing. Like yep. That was maybe the most like dramatic thing that I saw. I watched Pete Golding walk out of the locker room while the crowd was chanting his name. I watched an atmosphere that I would put up against anywhere in the country on a college football Saturday. I saw an offense that didn't look like anything had happened, to be honest with you. And one of the things that stood out to me was that the fact that when Pete Golding says it really doesn't matter who's running them out of the tunnel, I truly believe that right now. And that's not the case for every school, okay? But in this case, guys, Sunday morning, Lane Kiffin sent a plane to Oxford, Mississippi to grab up all those assistant coaches who were also coaching at LSU and got them down to Baton Rouge. Like, in what world are we living in that this happens in college football? But I say all that to say this. They've figured out a way to make this work. Like, they've figured out a way in the previous 2 weeks leading up to that game to make it work. And by no way am I trying to give Lane Kiffin props here. I'm talking about the assistants have made this work. It's not the easiest thing in the world for Charlie Weiss to have to do what he's having to do right now. And I'm not trying to like garner sympathy, but what I am saying for him is that Pete Golding, when he went in that press conference and he was taking a shot at Lane Kiffin, which is exactly what he was doing, talking about how, Charlie Weiss could not afford not to call a good game here, like, because it's been Lane Kiffin's offense and Lane Kiffin's offense. And I just think overall I had a different mindset coming out of this one. I think Ole Miss has figured this out. I think we can move past the talking point of, can Ole Miss figure this out on offense where nothing falls apart and be able to go have a good game against Georgia. They proved that against Tulane. And I'm sorry, look, if everybody wants to say, oh, well, it's Tulane, okay, that's fine. You can have that thought process. But to have 7 assistant coaches, funnel back and forth between Baton Rouge and Oxford, and you're still able to go out there and put up that type of performance, a lot of that credit goes to the players, man. And so I am fascinated to see what happens in New Orleans between Ole Miss and Georgia. I think that's going to be a very fun game. I look forward to seeing what suite Lane Kiffin is in and where the TV cameras try to find him in the Superdome. But, man, at the end of the day, it felt like it just felt like they were relieved, Ole Miss fans. And you know what? I'll end it with this part. Finally, the attention was put back on the players.
Right.
And I wrote about this postgame. 7 weeks, guys. And it's not our fault in the media because this was the storyline, okay? But for 7 weeks, we talked about Lane Kiffin. We didn't talk about the players. We didn't talk about what they were doing, how they got to the playoff, how they were the one that actually did this, how they were the one that went out on Saturday night. Saturday in Oxford was about the team. And I think that's exactly what the fans needed. I think it's what the administration needed. And I darn sure think it's what Pete Golding needed. And when he did not lead them with the champions walk into the stadium, that to me was a clear sign that, hey, look, you know what? We're not focused on the pass anymore. This is about the players. Let's move forward and let's go on.
That is Trey Wallace. You can always follow his work at Outkick. Trey, I hope you and your family have a wonderful Christmas holiday. Get a couple of days off before we get refocused in for the next round of the college football playoff, and hopefully we can catch up with you down the road.
I look forward to it, guys. Merry Christmas. Have a great week. Look forward to talking maybe next week as we get into these great games. And, again, just happy holidays to everybody.
Thank you, Trey. Appreciate it very much. That's Trey Wallace from Outkick, one of the best in the business. Joined us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Higginbotham is your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services. We roll on this Reaction Money. Kalen DeBoer will be at the podium in about 25 minutes. We'll carry that live here on Jocks. Oh, the weather's going to be beautiful on Christmas Day. 74 degrees. Wow, that's great.
So one day a year, I do not want it to be warm. It just doesn't feel like Christmas.
What's the temperature in Ann Arbor? I know that's where you're heading.
I think it'll be in the 30s.
See,
snow
With a chance of snow.
See, that's beautiful.
A chance of snow.
The weather that we had, was it this time last week or 2 weeks ago when it was like 25 degrees in the morning? That's what I want on Christmas.
Yes. And then the day after Christmas, 75 is great.
Yeah,
that's
that's
fantastic.
great. Christmas Eve.
But you want Christmas Eve when you're going to Christmas services.
Yes.
And obviously celebrating on Christmas Day with your family. You want a little bit of hint of cold weather in the air. And we will not get that.
I was about to say, Paige and I are going to Florida to visit my dad for Christmas, and it's going to be 80 degrees on Christmas Day. Very Christmassy.
Mm. And then in a week from now, we'll all sound like I sound right now.
Oh, and I'm sure mid-January it'll be 20 degrees and it'll snow or something. That's just how it normally goes here.
Mm-hmm. Wow, it's been a busy Reaction Monday. We're going to get to your text messages on the Courtesy GMC text line. So many of you are chiming in on the Alabama win against Oklahoma. We've got Byron Brown from South Florida. He has already sent out something on Instagram saying that he is going into the transfer portal. So the rumor mill has already started about him potentially going to Auburn. If that's the case, what happens to Deuce Knight?
A lot of intrigue there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of intrigue.
Notre Dame and USC, they have canceled their football series for the foreseeable future. Very interesting there. But we will continue the conversation about Alabama in the CFP.